has been a huge week in the Wuthering Waves community. There's been a lot of discussion about the most recently released characters, and I thought that it was about time that I finally address the two big glaring elephants in the room right now. We'll begin our journey here on Pridewind, which has become the go-to source for most gacha games at this point, and I don't know how that happened so quickly. It started for me with Honkai. That was when I first started coming here, but now for most of the more like advanced gacha games, I guess, this has become almost like the Bible for most people, especially their tier list. So as you can see here, the Wuthering Waves tier list has been recently updated. Okay, so we have our queen Jinhsi on the top, where she deserves to be. She broke the game really, and that's going to be something I talk about a little later. But our most recently released DPS queen is Changli, here a little bit below Jinhsi. That being said, I do think the outcry of people saying that she's mid is very over exaggerated, okay? And I'm here to show you guys why I now think that, because I'm not a great Wuthering Waves player, right? I log in maybe for like 10 minutes a day. I don't sit there and practice. I'm not like, I don't have a natural affinity for these games, but I'm here to show you, even though I'm not the greatest Wuthering Waves player, you can see here on the Echoing Tower, I was able to get my first, not 12 star, not 9 star, 12 star clear all by myself, and that was thanks to mommy Changli here. So I wanted to share this footage with you guys. This is me playing Changli as a main DPS, not really a quick swap comp, and still being able to clear that last floor of the Echoing Tower just fine. Okay, so as you can see, I do not have her best team whatsoever. I was playing her with Encore up to this floor, but it just wasn't fun. It wasn't vibing with me. It's very hard to play. There's too many quick swaps, and I have old man hands. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna play my favorite character Sanhua, because she has some pretty good like burst damage that you can quick swap to, even though the basic attack damage does not help Changli too much. But this is even further to show you guys that even though Changli is a little harder to play and it might seem like she doesn't have the greatest like team compositions right now, she still does a ton of damage and can clear, you know, this end game content. Yeah, maybe the holograms are a bit harder than this, but this is kind of the peak of what you're aiming to do in Wuthering Waves as of this moment. So what I find interesting about all of these people claiming that Changli is super mid or whatever they're saying is that she feels very similar to Calcharo for me, and all of these people just a couple of months ago had the biggest boner for Calcharo, so I really don't get it. Now I'm not saying they play exactly the same, right? But I think that they have a lot of like the skill requirements that you need. For example, it's very easy to accidentally cancel her big like charge forte heavy attack, which is the same with Calcharo. People mess that up a lot, and they also both require a lot of really high octane quick swaps, right? And I say require lightly because as you can see, I am not the greatest quick swapper whatsoever, and I'm just playing her more as a main DPS and was able to clear this content. But I think that they have the same issues, so I don't understand why now people are saying like, oh well, she can't do as much damage as Jinhsi and it requires like 100 times the effort. But something that I pointed out in one of my really early reviews of Wuthering Waves is that in order for them to succeed, I think they need to continue to lean into this niche of more like complicated, not necessarily difficult, but just more like thoughtful gameplay with both the bosses and the characters. And I'm really glad that they're continuing to do that. I was a little worried with Jinhsi, but with Changli, we can see that they are dedicated to making like more complicated characters that really take some time to fully understand the full depth of them, right? And there is my main clear. So my main point about Changli here is that yes, she is a little bit more difficult to play, right? It's very important to not overlap those true sight stacks. There's just a lot of stuff you have to keep track of, especially if you have her signature weapon in order to play her optimally, but you really don't have to play her all that optimally. As you guys could see from that footage, I am not a amazing Changli player, but I do enjoy her, and I do enjoy like trying to understand the complexity of her. And even when I played her sub-optimally, you can see here, I have, you know, the proof is in the pudding here. I got 3 stars, I fully cleared this tower, and it's the first time I was able to, because of Changli. Now, I think the main reason that people are having such a big problem with her is that she's back to back with this lady right here, and I think that this is a problem in itself. How many tries did it take me to get that 12-star clue with Changli? I can't even count. It was a lot, I'll be honest with you guys. Now if you look here at the main tower where we have level 100 enemies, how many times did this take me? I might have one-shot it. with my Baiji, with my level 70 Baiji here. I didn't even have Arena on this. This is ridiculous. Now, if you ask me, I believe that if Changli would have came out right after Jian, or maybe right after Yinlin, or just after anyone else but Jinhsi, the reception would have been a lot better, because Jinhsi just overshadows everything else in the game. And I know this is obvious, but we've seen this before in other gacha games, right? If you are a Genshin player, like a 1.0 Genshin player, you might remember when Ganyu came out. She doesn't seem like the greatest now, because obviously we're 4 years in, but when Ganyu came out, she absolutely broke the game. And in that same patch, Zhao came out right after, who was another main damage dealer. And Zhao was really good, right? And he had this like different play style of jumping all over the place, but he just didn't do as much as Ganyu. He didn't have like the big crit numbers that you saw with Ganyu. And so people were like, oh, Zhao's trash, Zhao's trash. But really, he wasn't that bad. It's just he came right after Ganyu. And I believe the same problem is what we're having in Wuthering Waves right now with Changli. To be honest with you guys, I'm actually incredibly relieved that Changli is not quite as broken and not quite as easy to play as Jinhsi is, because as I mentioned earlier in my first review of Wuthering Waves, I mentioned how I wanted them to further lean into this niche of being like the hard gacha game, right? The Souls-like gacha game. Whether that has actual truth to it or not, that is kind of the narrative, and it does have some interesting gameplay, right? And if they continued to try to raise the bar and go even easier and even more broken than Jinhsi this early in the game, like what do we expect in a year? We're just gonna have a bunch of Jian-like characters where we hold down the mouse button and just watch everything die. No one wants that, so I am incredibly relieved that we didn't get another Jinhsi. To sum up my thoughts here, guys, I believe that if you're one of these people saying that Changli is mid or Changli is bad, I think you're delusional, and I think that a lot of those people either haven't pulled her and they're just going off of other people's gameplay to make their opinion off of, or they're just spending too much time on Twitter and they need to go play her for more than an hour to learn just a little bit about how she plays. Because even if you're not playing her completely optimally, you can see by my awful gameplay, she is still really good and she can clear the highest tier of content in the game, and that is TOA, right? And I also think that we should not be comparing all main DPS characters to Jinhsi in the future. And 1.2, when that Electro Gauntlet guy comes out, we cannot compare him to Jinhsi, because I believe Jinhsi is going to be like an Archon in this game, and we should not be seeing her as the bar, right? We should see someone like Changli as the bar, or Jian as the bar, because I think there's going to be like one character similar to Jinhsi every patch, and the rest of them are going to be more like Changli, and that's perfectly okay, right? They're still really good and they can clear all the content. They're just not as like easy mode, just like big nuke as Jinhsi is. For now though, that is all I have to say about Changli. I'm extremely happy with her. If you did pull her, congratulations, because even if you don't like to play her, she is mighty fine to look at, ain't she? Holy cow, this is a beautiful gacha character. So I hope you guys are enjoying. If you didn't get her, if you did get her, let me know what you think down in the comments about her and Jinhsi and all of this stuff that I've talked about today. Thank you so much for watching this far. If you enjoyed, give it a like, maybe subscribe to me, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.